Good evening. Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the Think Show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One. And tonight we're going to focus on ancestral strength. This might take us into a couple of 3 weeks. We'll see the response from it. But ancestral strength is something that Black people, African Americans, they don't get those strengths from the people they say they are. The only strength the majority of them have, and when I say majority, I mean about 90, 95% have, is making foreigners comfortable. That's all they do, at the expense of themselves and their children. Now, they'll argue with you because sooner or later they're going to spill the beans. But it's some ancestral strengths that I think we're not focusing on. If you say all this stuff happened to your ancestors, they sent, you have some of their strengths with you every day. You just overlook them, ignore it. You know how you do. Their strengths you inherit from your ancestors, whatever they are. You have them yourself. But since we look at ourselves as Black, as African American, or whatever name somebody pulled out of their hat, you're that. So you're really not focusing on your ancestral. And what I mean by ancestral is you see this thumbnail in the middle of the screen. I would say those are your ancestors. This is people who call themselves African American or Black. Those were names that were given to you. The people that you see on the screen, they didn't call themselves that. You will have a 40-minute argument with a person who just don't know nothing. And this is where the people who call themselves African American and Black are. They don't know who they are. That's why they call themselves that. So, what I just want to share with you, the closest thing I can find, and this is the human form we're in now, the closest thing I can find is this image right here. There's some other images that if you look around the world, and I'll be traveling out the country and I'll bring back some stuff, how people in other places looked at the people here. So people traveling, they say, man, I once got to this place called America, and you should have seen the people. And this is the image they came with. They painted them on their churches. They painted them highly reverence your ancestors. Unfortunately, Black people or African Americans don't think these are their ancestors. Let them go. Let them go. Don't even try to convince them. They should already know. So, what we want to talk about today is some of the ancestral strengths. I say, if you're calling yourself Black African American, you might not get it. Don't do this because you'll be in a position, because you're not them. You are your father's replacement. You are your mother's replacement. That's all. Your kids are your replacement. I mean, we got that. It's recycled, y'all. Your ancestors are you. Born again, you've heard of it. Junior, men name their sons after them. Why? They're connected. That son picked up some of the strengths, some of the know-how from his pops. The pops taught him what? How to build a house. That's how everything, that's how thoughts, emotions are passed down through your ancestors. These people I have on the screen, I'm just going to call them uh, ancestors of the so-called Black people, African American, jigaboo, whatever they call themselves. This is their ancestors, but they chose to look at themselves through somebody else's eyes. So let's get into the strengths or some of the strengths. And like I'm saying, I don't want to be all night and, bore you because I'm about to head somewhere. And I'm going to bring back some information. And you got to get this because it's right in your face. We're not on our, we don't look at the way, we don't look at the world the same way as these people on the screen do. We don't look at the world and face the world the same way that our ancestors did. We do what we're told to do. Now, if anybody can come up and refute that, and I'm not saying this is every single one, this is the majority, 95%. If anybody can come up and prove that that's not the case, African Americans ain't African book on me. Just see, we got to just stop sitting up here talking about things we're not even focused on. So, being that the people that, gravitate towards African Americans ain't Africans, few brothers and told me, said, man, you will never make no money telling the truth. Yeah, it just feels better coming out. The people that you see are your ancestors. So when you hear all these people talking, what was the spiritual practices of these people? They weren't Christians. They weren't Muslims. What were they? If you ask the average African American or Black person that, they just get that dumb nigga look on their face. They don't know because somebody else told them something else and they swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. If anybody can come up and tell me how it happened other than that, and you know what? I'll do this. This is Christmas. I'll send one to anybody you like. You can't lie to the children. You can't bullshit the children because they'll grow up bullshitting everybody. The same thing happened to you. Same thing happened to me. Don't know nothing. What were the minerals where your people were from? So when people say they do genealogy on themselves, I'm like, cool. What rivers were you by? What were the animals where your people? That's genealogy. You got to put all that stuff in. You just can't put in your grandmama and grandfather. What if your grandfather was a Buffalo Soldier and fought to keep you in check? So check that when we always say we did this. No, we didn't do nothing. You know what most of the brothers sold out for? White girls. Didn't you? Tell the truth. Understand why, and then don't do it again. Don't lie and keep on doing it, which is what African Americans and blacks do. So you don't go on what nobody says, go on what they do. Song to go with that, so it'll be locked in your memory. Heard it through the grapevine. Gladys Knight or Roger. You take your pick. And they got some other versions too. What are the words in Heard It Through the Grapevine? That's how you used to pass information on through the music. Was bad at it. They figured that out and killed that, but you still supported it. So you ever notice what so-called black people they always get caught up in is because somebody bought them something that wasn't real? So ancestral strengths. These are strengths that you have and use every day. Every day you use them. You have strengths that pass down from your ancestry. First one we're going to go with is emotions. Think of the emotions that your ancestors were going through when they were being invaded. You know, that's passed down to you. Think about how your ancestors felt when an army came and pushed them off their land. What emotions were going through their mind at that time? When people from foreign places came over and told them to get off some beachfront land. And I tell you, your ancestors lived with the planet, not against it. If you saw some of the things that we don't see all the time, because we rather go to Disneyland, the movies, you're on a prime location for people to live. Imagine the people who was once there. Look, just like these people on the screen. Imagine those people being told, "Oh, we taking this." How does their emotions transmogrify through you to you? I'm sorry I didn't say hello, Beverly. Hi, Beverly. How you doing? Hope it's kind of warm where you are. It's cold where I am. I hate this cold. Ugh. So those things I just named about your ancestors being shot and fired upon, had to move, their places burned down, flooded. What were the emotions of those people who persevered? Those are your ancestors. Do you connect to that? You have it. It's passed down. You didn't buy it from nowhere. It's passed down to you. It's passed down to you. And from all those souls that it was passed down from to get to you, How do you use it? You should ask yourself on your emotional intelligence should be as high before you step anywhere to say anything to anybody. You got to have that in check because it took a lot for you to get it. These emotions every day. You'll find them most of the time. You can see them when you're on chats and stuff, and people can't let other people speak. They just got to notice that. Notice that. Notice how somebody goes to say something and somebody just comes in and just bogarts and just starts talking over somebody. Do you think your ancestors learned that way? But you come up and do it because you can. No emotional intelligence at all. Notice that when you're in relationships with people like that. Spiritual. What were the spiritual ideology of these people on the screen? How did they look in the world and their fit in it? These are your ancestors now. These aren't black and African American. So when you see images like this, don't you dare open your yap and call them black. There's no such thing as black Indians. You think these people call themselves black? No. Somebody came in and called them black and taught you to do that. Who are these people? They're your ancestors and you know nothing about them. You know more about Charlie Brown than you know about your ancestors. I'm not saying everybody. I'm talking about it's not enough to turn this upside down. So I might be one or two off. What's the spiritual ideology of these people? If you go to forget the name of the um oh here we go. Go pull up Novus Orbis Steve America. At the time that this map was done, it wasn't called America, it was called America. Rich souls. All somebody gotta come in and do is just change the E to sound like a I to sound like a U. You know how they do it. Throw you all off. So if we try to explain this, we get cussed out. Somebody will come in not knowing what they're talking about and ruin the whole conversation. Making it impossible for the people that's just listening to learn anything. That's what they're there for. Those are your agents. It's not what they say, it's what they do. Remember that. Actions speak louder than words. Never forget that. Actions speak louder than words. I had a sister who was her boyfriend was just whooping her ass, and she was cute too. Yes. She asked me what should she do. What should you do? I'm gonna tell you what I would tell my mama, my sister, my daughter, my cousin to do. Boo boo him out. Get him out your system. It's just that simple. What you say goes. What you think goes. You don't follow the pack just because everybody wearing red shoes. What you say. And one thing that you'll notice about blacks and African Americans, they always do what somebody tells them to do. Like I say, anybody can come up and tell me I'm lying at anything. I'll send you a African Americans Ain't African book. Have grandmama read it. Oh, I can see the letters. Who are you? Who are you? Emotions, keep those in check. Keep your emotions in check. Breathe in when anytime you hear somebody say something stupid, and then just ask them to explain. Right there, they won't. They're just there to sabotage the situation. Now, this doesn't happen all the time. Listen, you got some youngsters out there. When I say youngsters, youngsters to me is under 40. Okay. You if you live and you really look at it, like I say, you are your father's and mother's replacements. You're going to be replaced one day, pushing you back and further into the line until you come back up again. Recreation, you don't get it. This is the simple stuff. You've seen babies that look just like they daddy. Mustache, beard, everything. No, I'm kidding. Beverly says we were taught to listen. Ain't that what the baby do when they first get here and they can't talk? They just have to just sit there and just watch everything around them. Isn't that the thing that they do is listen to learn? They can't do nothing else. They can't feed themselves. They poop on themselves. They piss their pants. If they sneeze and blow snot, they can't even wipe that off. But they listen. When do we get to the point where people don't even listen no more? This would be 1900 history if you go back. Other strengths that you have: intuition. Intuition. It's like when they came out with that jab, and it was people was like, you got to be out your damn mind. They were worth it. It works all the time. It works all the time. Intuition. You know things. They may be having a bonfire, music, horses doing flips, anything. Something inside of you says, that's some bullshit. So Beverly's right. We were taught to listen, watching and listening. So your intuition is another ancestral strength that you possess. Now, you don't have to use it. How does the intuition get interrupted? How does the intuition dim? I didn't know. How do you lose that intuition? Especially your ancestors had to survive this. Didn't they have to rely on their intuitions? Is that used now? The American one says, conditioned to listen to trash, like listening to the Jesus story. So listen, okay, so remember this, that we're on somebody's time clock, and we're trying to see through all the bullshit that they putting in. And that's why American one, if I'm right, correct me if I'm right, we're conditioned to listen to trash. It used to be, not so long ago, you can listen to your radio from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night. And you was hearing music that was inspirational, not gospel, told you something, hard truths, truths. That's your grandmother and grandfather. They'll know. They'll know. Cold music. They tried to kill it out with something called disco. If you listen to it, you'll know what I mean. That didn't work. And then they came with rap, toe it up. Yeah, the sounds that are coming to spark that intuition, the words, the ideas, to spark that, to get you vibrating on that intuition frequency is gone. The instruments are gone. So, everybody should pick up an instrument. Just start practicing on one. No matter how, if you 80, pick it up. Think about somebody who practice on an instrument to make it sound like a Bootsy Collins bass line. Think of the hours. Think of the sacrifice. Think of the intuition. Think of the spiritual. Think of the emotional that went into that. Bam, the super predator says, yes, indeed, Carrie, we are getting old. So this is what I ask everybody. And this is where we learn. Bam, the super predator. I have one question for you. Are the trees that are surrounding your house where you live, are those trees old? We'll wait for Bam the super predator to answer. Because watch what he says. Are the trees around you old? Simple question. And no, the trees aren't old. The trees aren't old because they're giving you life. You just look at what you call age from somebody else's point of view. You don't look at it from those people on the screen point of view. You don't look at it from your ancestors' point of view. You would look at it from what other people say. The Black African American loses on that 24 hours a day. You you can hear your ancestors call. People tell me all the time. You're connected to them. It's an invisible umbilical cord to your ancestors. You don't even know you have it. Hello, 490. No more singing from the soul. They're mumbling death chants. I've been serious. What? What? Tell the truth, right? So these are the type people you want to come, to your dinners and to whatever you're doing. People who look at things, damn, for what they are, not wanting to be something because they have none of these strengths of their ancestors. None of them. Talked about emotional, spiritual, intuitions. The last one I'm gonna hit you with before we get out of here, and you use this every day. And it's not something that Jesus gonna bring when he come. Mental, mental. Imagine the mental strength it took for your ancestors to endure. Imagine that. I mean, they're your ancestors, so they have to be something that's real. These are the people you believe in. These are your angels. See, when they talk about the angels in your life, they're talking about the angels in your families, your cousins, your father, your children, cousins, whatever. Let's say your father was the best housemaker, made the best houses. He would be like a god to you for house building, and you would build on that. That was the spiritual practices of these people there. If your father was a fisherman or your mother was a fisherman, they would be like gods. They would always be talked about. People told stories about them. They did amazing things. These are your ancestors. And you still waiting on Jesus. So, like the brother said, this is how we've been trained. You've been trained away from everything that's you And now and you call yourself this every day? Nothing. That's what you saying when you say you black, nothing. Not connected to nothing. This is what I'm saying. This is the average African American and black people. If you go by that, I'm not here to offend you. I'm just telling you what you are. These people on the screen aren't black. You're not either, but for some reason you feel no emotional authority, no spiritual authority, no intuition authority. These are all things that just latent lying in you, just waiting for you to kick in. No mental ancestral authority. Mental, I mean, damn, think about it. See, the truth seeker, see, he got jokes. He got jokes. Jesus ain't never coming. How can someone come who never existed in the first place? You got our people with the Christianity. Europeans brought Jesus Christianity to America. You know what, man? When I was in that African stuff, because we all go through stages. You learn, then you realize that what you're doing is ain't shit. You start questioning it, then they quickly move you away. So I had this girlfriend once. She said, "What do you want for your birthday?" I said, "You know what? I've always wanted to go to Egypt. We go to Egypt for my birthday." But before we had to drive to Egypt from Israel, though. This is how close the Middle East, Africa, blah blah is. Just keep that in mind. So we're in, I forget what's one of those cities. Listen, if you ever get a chance to go to Israel, go somewhere else. So we're there, we're just asking questions. So somebody asked, "Where's Jesus and Mary?" All the characters of the Bible. Where are they buried? The guides, or the people that work in the park or the wall or wherever we were. It was a joke. It was like Disneyland, but worse. So all the guides and stuff started laughing, and they were saying, these people really think these people existed. You and what young lady there, or cutie pie too, she said, "You know what? In America, you will never get the Negro to believe that it's not true. They believe it." I mean, you would think if you just read the first page, you would get it. You don't get it. I mean, you should see the energy spent on talking about other people's spiritual ideology, and they don't know a damn thing about theirs. So, you try to help them, but, help and move on. AI Africans. Oh, y'all hear that? He telling you AI Africans. You can always tell the AI is AI. You should have that intuition. These are strengths that you can pull upon, intuition. Is that real? No. So they're changing the world, trying to change the world that way. Be very careful. Use those strengths that we just talked about. Use those strengths that we just talked about because you're going to need them. You're going to need them. So, listen, we're going to go ahead and end. I'm going to be back with you guys next week. I'm going to have some footage that when you see this, you're going to be like, I never done it like that. This is part of the mental cagement that we're in. We when we look at things the way people tell us instead of the way we see it and the way it is, we put ourselves in a box and we keep repeating it over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I'll see you next week. Check this out. It's going to blow your mind. You guys have a good night. Peace.